Hi-ho, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Hey Man, Nice Kiss Shirt. I'm joined today by my esteemed guest, Brian Powers, my occasional singer and a variety of Kiss tributes. And here we are, moving into week 3 of Rock and Roll All Night, Journal Every Day. A year-long guide celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. And here we are.
And man, is it fun.
Can you just feel the fun? Just
more fun than humans should be allowed.
All right. So this is the tablecloth episode. So we're gonna start with that. This was you in 1993. So
in July of 93, a guy I worked with, an associate, I would not call him a friend.
Tim Medeiros. His name was Tim Medeiros, and he talked like this.
And he was a tweaker, and he was not the most savory individual in town. Called me or asked me out of the blue,
Hey, do you like Kiss?
and I was like, yeah, I like him. Hey, I was a fan. I don't really follow him now, kind of, but not much. And he's like,
I won tickets on Rock 105.3 Rock and Roll Peg, and I'm going to have dinner with Kiss. You want to go?
I was like, what? Yeah. So we went to...
This was San Diego,
San
right?
Diego.
All right.
We went to Stefano's, I believe it was called, in Little Italy, downtown San Diego. It's not there anymore. And walked in, and they took us to the back, this big banquet hall type thing. This giant table, and dude with the biggest face I've ever seen in my entire life was like this, and I'm like,
face you could serve a supper on.
exactly. I'm like, holy crap, he's sitting in the center of the table, and went in, and Medeiros sat next to him. I sat to the left of Medeiros. Medeiros is like, I won the ticket, so I'm sitting next to Paul Stanley. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, you can. And first thing I said before I took my seat, I looked at Paul and I said, how's the new album doing? Because Revenge had come out. And he said, great, you got your copy yet? And I'm like, sure do.
I could lie or I could tell the truth.
And I did. And I lied again. I said, I was in a tribute band called Great Expectations, and we did Tonight You Belong to Me.
Oh.
And he said, you got good taste. But we didn't do that.
we never even attempted anything off of. I mean, we messed around with Aces, but
we did Snowblind, but we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
No. But yeah,
Paul gives no shits.
Paul gives no shits. Hi, Paul.
Although his self-portrait is watching over us at this moment.
Exactly. That was before he painted, 100 self-portraits of himself in his house? Like the first things that he did on canvas
were all Paul.
All
Paul all the time.
Paul all the time. He had 100 self-portraits that he sold in Hawaii. But yeah, that was the tablecloth. It was an interesting time. Eric Singer didn't want to be there. Eric Singer was just real aloof and not having it, and I was like, you don't really want to be here, do you? And Paul kind of shot him a dirty look, and he was like, yeah, well, I'm jet lagged,
Well, and didn't you guys, you and Eric had a little football sidebar?
We did after that. I was wearing.
I don't want to disrupt the timeline, so just continue.
I was wearing a Dallas Cowboy hat, and he's like, "You like the Cowboys?" I was like, "Yeah, my dad sent me this. He's Texas football, Dallas," and he's like, "I'm a Browns fan," and I kind of laughed a little bit, but yeah, that was. I'm trying to think because lots of stuff. I mean, we had food, They it was like you had a dinner and the soup comes with the dinner, and I had minestrone soup, and Bruce Kulick taught me to put Parmesan cheese in the minestrone soup, which I thought was great. I'm trying to think, man, because it's
So was there any particular? I mean, we'll get deeper into the weeds on the autographs later, but was there any reason that Bruce didn't sign the tablecloth? Like who busted out the Sharpies and like how?
I think Paul had the Sharpies. He had a silver one as well, and that's
So was it after dinner that he started doing it? Because this is a self-portrait.
Pretty much after we ate was when all the buffoonery with the pens came out. I don't know. There was a lot of like I can't remember like pre-food what was happening. Somebody mentioned something about Neil Diamond, and I brought up the jazz singer, and Simmons was way the hell over there, and he was like, I still don't know what that fucking movie's about.
So
the jazz singer.
now this shirt you brought, hey man, nice kiss shirt. We always gotta feature that. Now was this part of the evening?
This as I was leaving.
Okay.
As I was leaving, I was wearing this shirt, and
get it in a little closer. I don't know if you can really, if it'll pick it up, but silver Sharpie,
the silver Sharpie. Paul broke that out after I had a hit parader with them on it, and Paul had a solo shot of him wearing like a derby or a bowler, and it was like he was wearing like a vest, and it's all black down at the bottom of the page, and I said, hey Paul, sign your face, and he looked at me like
you just kicked him in the balls.
Like I just kicked him in the nuts, and he had this like, because he signed it in black, and I was like, you really can't see that, and he grabbed a silver Sharpie and signed over his signature, so there were two signatures, and hence lost the hit parader. My birthday was coming up. It was like July 14th, and my birthday's like 4 days later, and I was like, hey, my birthday's coming up. Do you think you can like make me like a birthday card, only kind of dirty or something? And he wrote, happy fucking birthday, Brian. Paul Stanley. I lost that too.
That was the extent of his dirty.
His extent of
Okay,
dirty.
so if I may, like you mentioned a couple times, and this is the thing, and this is why I'm so grateful. The dark side of the gratitude for why I am the custodian of the tablecloth is Brian just has a knack for not hanging on to shit.
Right.
And I kind of do.
That's
so,
a good thing.
Yeah. And so just to put that out there, this is, if anyone's curious.
They gave me an advance copy of Confidential.
Yeah.
Revenge Alive 3. It was before Alive 3, but after Revenge.
Kiss Confidential.
It was advanced copy, and it's basically, that was live footage of them doing Alive 3 with some old stuff put in as well, and Gene and Paul talking about the early stuff. And then mostly it was a concert, I believe, from Como or Detroit, 93, of them doing, I mean, they opened with Deuce and everything, so it was like a return to form for Kiss. It was almost like a reaffirmation that they're Kiss. Like
we're still here.
We're still here. We're a rock band and that kind of thing. I mean, they were going back to opening with Deuce, and Paul was playing the Iceman, So that was like them coming back to being, and they had that tougher look, instead of just that.
Yeah.
So that was that.
So that was like a VA, like a advance or promo.
Yeah.
Of that.
It was
VHS
just basically
promo.
a box that said like Maxell on it, and their signatures were on it.
Oh.
So it was just basically a blank audio tape that they put Confidential on.
Or video.
On video.
Yeah.
Video. Maxell video. I saw.
So there was that, and there was, what was it? Was it Eric Singer? with
dinner roll. Where he drew the Kiss logo on a dinner roll, basically, and signed it. I think Paul signed it too. I'm not sure, but I tried to save it, and somebody told me if I put shrink wrap on it and put it in the, or like put plastic on it, put it in the oven, and I burned it, and the shrink wrap didn't cover all the areas of the dinner roll bread thing, and it got moldy in some spots.
So you put it in like you were trying to basically cure it. You were basically trying to shellac the thing.
Yeah.
Like polyurethane might have worked, but you were just kind of took the ghetto approach to preserving the autographed dinner roll.
Didn't work. It was, pretty good. But I had chicken parm.
The meal was good.
The meal was good. Chicken parm and minestrone with Parmesan cheese that Bruce Kulick showed me how to put.
So again, like I said, Bruce, the only thing that happened was Paul drawing himself, and of course
Eric Singer drawing that,
and Eric drawing a version of Paul. So yeah, like maybe this would be a good time to kind of like zoom in and like show you where I took over on this. Down here, I'm gonna go clockwise, I guess, and Todd Kearns and his take on Paul. Bruce Kulick, Michael James Jackson, Big John Hart, Lydia Chris, Bill's partner Roman. Now this is kind of a combo deal, Brian. The little Starman doodle we see here, that's 93, but above it you'll notice the FU Fido Eric Singer. This was the 2018 Indie Expo, so this was Eric's 60th. We've got the late great Bob Kulick. We've got the late great John Regan, John Five. Coming around for Robert Fleischman. It's an Invasion, of course. Carl Cochran. Ace adjacent, of course, Anton Fig underneath that. Eric Singer's 93 rendition of Paul. Did I cover it all? I pretty much covered it all. So this is a work in. Oh no, I didn't. You're right. I still got work to do here. So here we got, of course, Paul doing Paul. The Paul. We've got Ace. We've got Todd Howarth. We've got Mark Slaughter and Bobby Rock. I'll tell you more stories about those two a little later. Future episodes. And here we are back to Bruce. Again, all this we've seen. But yeah, so here's the detail. Maybe this tablecloth will continue to feature. Maybe we tuck it away until the next opportunity arises for autographage. Righty. Not the most elegant way to get her done, but soon enough I will learn to edit this podcast, and it'll be a beautiful thing. So let's move into the journal and the questions that It's All For You Demon poses, starting with January 15th. Has Kiss inspired you to learn an instrument or form a band? What did you play? What was the name of your band? And describe these creative endeavors. So I'm throwing it to you, Brian.
Really, it's like I'd never really learned to play. I mean, now I can kind of play a little bit of guitar, but not much. But back in the 70s, like just listening to them and like listening to it live, it's like just going nuts, air guitar and just that whole thing. And I mean, I was able to sing the song, so that's when we did the Great X thing, because basically it's like know all the words by heart. Really don't have to woodshed. It's like everything that's why we got gigs, because we didn't really have to practice.
That was
like
second nature.
Show up and play Kiss tunes.
I do remember that first rehearsal though in the basement of my parents' house.
Yes,
this was like 90 probably.
Right.
And man, it was just like, I mean, effortless, pretty much. I mean,
effortless. First time.
I remember Snowblind, just really, yes. I remember Got Love for Sale, just thinking we were just the shit.
Yeah.
Man, those tunes
just knew all the songs right away. It was like, didn't have to know it goes like this, maybe a couple times, but other than that, it was just like flawless.
But I also, what I liked about us is, there was so much emphasis on, because there were already tribute bands, and they were already doing the whole spiel, and us was like, I like, it's like,
we saw Cold Gin that same year.
Yeah.
I did in San Diego in '93. I wore that. I wore the.
Was it Strutter? I don't know.
They played and I missed them.
Who did we see at Cano's though?
I didn't go. You guys went. I didn't go to that one. Somebody said something about a fat Gene.
Yeah, there's always a fat Gene somewhere.
Right.
I do remember. It's funny. Last night, a friend of mine, Terry, actually, Mark Cicchini's bassist in his tribute, in the Nugent tribute, was in Kissed a lot. Oh, hi Beans. Do you have something to contribute to the discussion?
Beans is butt.
Beans has to. She shows her ass once in a while. All right. Well, thanks, Beans. I appreciate your input. Get out of here. So anyway, so Terry Herman, he was Kissed Alive. He was the bassist in that band, that played Kano's Spar that we was that our first gig, or did we play the Capitol first? I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but anyway, it was just last night. It was one of those small world things where Terry changed his profile pic, and he said something about that band and doing a 10 show run with a couple other bands, with an Alice tribute and an AC/DC tribute, and I was like, oh shit! I reviewed that show, that Kano's show for Jam Rag, for a Detroit, for a little entertainment rag. And it's just like, yeah, small, the world gets even smaller. But I digress. Just talking about the old days with Great X, and just the idea of how much fun it was to not have to put all the focus on the image, and just like getting up there and just playing the tunes. And
it's like we could do gigs at the drop of a hat. If Keith had somebody cancel,
yeah,
can you guys play? Yep.
And going for the deep cuts too. Like I said, I mean, just like doing Got Love for Sale was that was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to kind of swing this question to myself. Brian sang, I played drums. I mean, that's Kiss has been inspiring me to do that from the get-go, pretty much. So, as far as the names of my bands beyond, I mean, we might as well just keep the discussion, on Great X for our purposes with you as my guest. But I mean, just speaking personally, Kiss and, Peter and everybody, they just have so much to do with my life choice yeah, I'm still a musician primarily, and I think a couple of years ago when we had a little more time on our hands with the COVID lockdown and stuff, I counted all the bands I'd been in since I made my first $10 in 1985, and it's like 84 bands. I think I figured out that I've averaged a band every like 6.2 months or something of my life.
Wow.
So yeah, as far as describing these creative endeavors, it'll leak out in different aspects of these discussions over time. But let's move on to January 16th. What is your favorite Kiss book and why?
Probably Shout It Out Loud, The Making of an American Icon, The Story of Destroyer. That's the one that I usually have the most that I've looked at, and it goes deep in the weeds of Ezrin and Corky and Jim Messina, and I mean how they got the sounds that they got, what they did,
Yeah,
everything. I mean, it's real minutia. But I also like Odyssey. Shout out to Julian Gill, because he goes real deep with the minutia.
yeah,
And that was a really fascinating time because they weren't really on the radar. They were, in the Kiss Army newsletter, it was a new album's gonna be rocking, and Eric Carr's drumming will knock your socks off.
yeah.
And it's gonna be a return to rock, and it's gonna be another Destroyer.
Yeah.
And
That was probably the beginning of them sort of leaning into Destroyer as, being the benchmark, and it's gonna be heavy, and it's gonna be this, and
it's
and it ended up, I mean, we know where it ended up,
right, and that's just a fascinating time, in my opinion. Just how it was being recorded, and Bob Ezrin's story, and that whole thing. It's fascinating times.
Yeah, for sure. I would have to. Mine would be kind of a toss-up between. I don't know. I mean, Odyssey's in there too, but just for the reasons you mentioned. But Sealed with a Kiss, just for the photos and just for the fact that that's Lydia's perspective, and I mean that's some ground floor shit right there, It's just, I love the way the book is formatted, but so I would say, I guess if I could just a real quick and dirty sort of delineation between the two would be, I like Sealed with a Kiss for the photos and also for the perspectives, but as far as the text bit, reading and the minutia, and I really like Nothing to Lose. I really like the Young and Hungry period of and I like that. I don't really know what you call that journalistic premise or device, or however you want to put it. The way that book is written anecdotally. It's just a collection of anecdotes from people that were in various parts of the Kiss orbit.
There's a lot of that in Behind the Mask as well. In the back of, you get what Joey Ramone thought of Kiss or whatever.
Yeah. I really
Springsteen.
Just randomly flipping into Nothing to Lose, and it's like Ivan Krall. It's like sometimes you get some unlikely chime-ins. But Binky Phillips talking about, it's written in the same way that Please Kill Me is written, and Detroit Rock City is another good example of that, just a compilation of anecdotes. Nothing to Lose is great. I learned a lot about, another fascinating time for me is Cadillac, and just this, I learned a lot of stuff about Cadillac. Oh man, and I want to get into it, but I might have a good guest. I might have a really good guest for a future episode. Well, no, I'll say no, but that's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, all right. Moving on to January 17th. This is a fun one. Did your parents ever attempt to warn you about Kiss? Describe your memories of that encounter.
Not so much warn, as they didn't really care for him that much. Beans is going.
She's full of beans. There's a reason I named her Beans.
So, yeah, not so much. I can't remember if my dad didn't want us to watch him on the Mike Douglas show or not. I don't think that was like... And he was like an avid Mike Douglas show watcher.
Yeah.
But it wasn't going to happen that day, apparently.
Yeah. Well, and knowing your parents, they're we're all on a spectrum, but they're a little bit more relaxed, kind of like my parents. We're not like, when I think of how other friends' parents were in terms of that whole, Knights in Satan's service thing, my grandparents almost filled that role more than my grandparents were more parental and stodgy in that way, but my parents were a lot more tolerant. They're younger, and they were like most of the people in my life. They looked at Kiss like, oh, greasy kid stuff. Oh, well, that's just a phase. He'll grow out of that.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not even in kindergarten, and they're like, he'll grow out of it. I'm like, here I am. All these years later,
right.
I'm not growing out of this.
Right.
Sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
But I do, let's see, like I guess there wasn't any of that kind of angle. They didn't warn me about, but there were stipulations. I mean, it's just like right down to like, buying the records or buying Kiss mags or buying anything. They were just on me with the work ethic, like, we're not gonna buy it for you, and you got. Like, even when my mom bought me Alive 2, when Alive 2 came out, I was like, I was already doing chore, you know what I mean? I was, maybe it was only 50 cents a week or whatever.
$11.99, man.
But like, dude, it was $11.98 right there in the spine of the record. I still, it was just super lucky that they were cool like that. But yeah, there was never a warning. There was just always just stuff attached to, like, I remember freaking out seeing Kiss in the TV guide that they were, and we've talked about this, the Linda Carter special in '79. I was so excited to see that all capital KISS in the TV guide that I didn't pay attention to the following word, spoof. Didn't really know what that, but it was on, like, we were watching Shogun, the miniseries was on at the time, and my dad was into that. And it was like, I don't think he understood that there wasn't going to be a conflict, or maybe there was, and we had to, like, switch back and forth between channels. But it was like, I just remember that day bringing it to my parents' attention, and they were like, well, you're going to have to, you gotta clean your room, and you gotta take a nap, if you want to stay up late, those kind of things. I'd have to jump through some little hoops
Shogun
to
was
get
the
my
most
Kiss fix.
Shogun was the most watched television in that year, and second was Kiss Meets Family.
Really? Huh. Well, there's a little tie-in. I always associate Shogun with Linda Carter, but there you go. Now, see, if I was the type to do research as show prep, I might know those things. But how fun would that be? Let's see what we have in store for January 18th. Could Christine 16 be released today? If so, would the lyrics need to be changed, and how would you change them to fit today's society?
I'm just gonna give that a hard no. Christine 46.
I'm sure, I don't know if it was Gene that or Paul, somebody has already made the joke. Christy 60 would be more appropriate, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a whole.
I'm sure you could write a different song.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that revisionist history.
Didn't they already take the sample for Funky Cold Medina?
Yeah. Yeah, I not really giving that any thought, because like I don't want to cater to that. I don't enjoy living in a world where Christine 16 is cringy, or we change art to fit social mores or whatever. It's like, no, man. That's what art is. Art is like pushing boundaries, and especially Kiss, man. It's supposed to be scary and dangerous, and it's supposed to be a middle finger to all of that stuff. And but I've heard other podcasters talk about, imagining it from a different viewpoint, like, well, what if, the protagonist, what if the singer of the song, what if he's like 13, and it's like, it's his older sister's best friend or something, and he's crushing on Christine 16, and when I saw you coming out of school, that it's like, it's, it's easy to imagine, a 20-something Gene Simmons, but, you don't have to take it that literally. That's the cool thing about lyrics. It's up to interpretation, and so much of what Kiss is about is just fantasy, not reality. So making that distinction and trying to push that, trying to kind of make that square peg fit into the round hole of 2025. I don't care to do it. No, sir, not gonna do it. It's not as much fun as just digging Christine 16 just the way it is. January 19th. What is one piece of Kiss merchandise you've put off purchasing, and what is stopping you?
Me, the 10th anniversary shirt, the Creatures 10th anniversary, because I was at that show in Saginaw and I didn't get a shirt. Kiss has enough of my money. Hi, Gene. I said that coming out of one of the shows that I think it was the one we went to in Auburn Hills in '99.
Oh, the New Year's Eve show.
New Year's Eve, and I was like, Kiss got enough of my money.
Yeah, and I was probably inclined to agree with you at that particular show, because I walked out of there with fucking history. That was probably at that point the most money might still be the most money I've dropped at I don't know. But
I didn't get to ride with you, so I don't know. I didn't get to see what your haul was.
I got a shirt from that show. I got a program from that. I mean, I loaded up at that show. To be honest with you, I must have been.
That was Psycho Circus, right?
Yeah. It was New Year's Eve '98 into '99.
Right.
Palace of Auburn Hills, and I was.
And I had already been to Dodger Stadium, and that.
Yeah.
I lost like a wallet with like $300.
Oh, wow. Yeah, looking back, I in '98. I'm not sure what I was doing for work, but I must have been shitting in high cotton that year, because the fact that I got History, and there was a little bit of, who knows if it was true that it was the last stash of, the last run of, the original lineup signatures, and that there was, I mean, I don't know.
Who knew?
I don't know what it's my memory is so bad for that kind of thing, but
What's your
mine, it's probably kind of like yours. I have been on a quest. I mean, as we talked about earlier, losing everything in a house fire in 1981 has just been, having been a KISS Army member and having so much stuff from the 70s.
yeah?
And just always, it just fucked me up. I just wanted to, it basically, and it bled beyond KISS, where it just kind of made me like generally a pack rat. And it's, it kind of made me the archivist and the keeper that I am. But, so I'm like focusing, and I think this goes back to like the first question in this book about, what are my goals for 2025 collecting wise, and it's dynasty stuff. Because I did get some of that merch at the Silverdome, but the one that, I'd like to get a dynasty, a shirt from the Dynasty tour to replace my original. I think there's one. I mean, it's as far as the second part of the question, what is stopping you? It's always money. I mean, come on, let's face it. If money were no object, I would pay $2,500 for a promotional Silverdome shirt that lists KISS, Cheap Trick, and New England on the front, and I'd be done with it. Then I would also buy a version of the one that I bought at the show. I was never a huge jersey guy. It wasn't a jersey at that Silverdome show. It was a black T-shirt. But I've noticed, a tan Alive T-shirt would be nice. But yeah, just a basic black T-shirt. It had the circular, and I can't remember. I can't remember if it had the return of KISS on the back. I don't think it did. Not sure. But I've seen so many variations of Dynasty tour shirts at this point. I'm not. I'd have to defer to an expert as to which ones were actually there in '79 and which ones, But it'd probably be that. I mean, I've got the pinball machine now. When that happened, that fixed a lot of my problems. But yeah, probably. Oh, I don't know. I guess I can't really, use the like put off purchasing thing if the thing that I want, if the Holy Grail is not for sale. But I've harped on it many times, having seen Mark Cicchini's Silverdome towel, Peter's towel from that gig. Maybe if I had that, I'd stop collecting.
Right.
But maybe if I had that, I wouldn't.
And if money was no object, then hell, who's got that couch? From
the Phantom of the Park, the snaky couch.
The snaky couch that Sam upsets.
Yes.
The apple cost.
Give us whoever knows in the comments, refresh my memory because I feel like it just in the last couple of years, and it wouldn't surprise me if it were John 5, but who's got Melissa's couch?
That was Kiss's suite that they were staying at.
That's
not Melissa's house.
Oh man, I don't know.
Staying with her. You don't stay with fans.
You don't stay with Melissa. King Diamond does.
Right.
All right.
Go move on. Keep going, eh?
Move on. That's what she told me. Move on. Ooh, yeah. Which, of course, wouldn't you know it, brings us to January 20th. Happy birthday,
Birthday,
Paul. Recently celebrated. So what is the greatest Paul Stanley song and why?
See, but I wasn't listening on the Animalize and stuff, so. But I gotta say, "Come On and Love Me." It's
Really?
probably the best Paul song, and he even
Really?
admits it
Really?
in his book. He's like, "You can't go back to a place like that where it just." He said, "Yeah, I couldn't write another song like that if you had a gun to my head."
Man,
It's a good song.
I must have forgot that. It was Behind the Mask?
Paul's book.
Or,
It's just like he's freestyling it,
wasn't that one of the songs that was, I know Anything for My Baby was one, but I think Come On and Love Me was the other song off of Dress to Kill that was just like written in a couple of hours. It's like dashed off, basically, kind of thing.
I heard that they did most of them like that for Dress to Kill, because like they would, like, Ace and Peter would show up and it's like, okay, here's the new one.
Yeah. Hey, learn this real quick. Yeah. Come On and Love Me. Man, and I don't know if he's, and I should know this because I've watched Julian Gill's excellent song stories on this, because it's my favorite Kiss song, but was Let Me Know. It's the germination of the song was Paul. Paul brought Sunday Driver to Gene. So do we consider that a Paul song, or was it massaged by the duo into what we know and love?
I think it was all Paul.
Well, if it is, then that's my answer, because I love that fucking song. But I mean, Paul's written some great. He's written some great tunes.
I mean, Tonight You Belong to Me is a great song too. Again, though, it's like, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, it's not like he wrote The Revealing Sciences of God or anything like that. It's not like he wrote 2112. But for my taste, I think Come On and Love Me is just straight. And I'm like, Making Love's a banger too. But
yeah. But you got to break off a piece of that one for Sean Delaney.
Yes, that's right. And then,
and again, I should know. My memory.
I Stole Your Love is a great, just a banger.
Yeah. And it's hard to think, like, make the distinction between, like, well, because of, are we talking about delivery? Are we talking about songcraft? Just actual, lyricism or whatever. And it's just like, there's great, like, some of the performances, where you're talking about the 80s stuff, for which you personally checked out on a lot of. But, like, I think Paul was, like, at the peak of his vocal prowess in the mid to late 80s. I mean, he could just sing anything, and, like, gosh, I remember the first time I heard Love Me to Hate You, I was just like, man, Paul is just fucking love Paul, Again, I should have done a little bit more, little more digging into this, but I like having these, giving our answers off the cuff, and just like, but I feel like, I can always depend on Let Me Know, man, and that's, I
do like that.
That feels like a Paul song to me. Like,
it does.
When he's saying, I mean, it's so Stonesy when his part comes in and he's got those little Paul sus chords, and fucking Let Me Know. And finally, January 21st asks, this is a philosophical bent here. Will Kiss music live forever? Do you believe that the fever pitch of Kiss collecting will live forever, given the state of the Beatles or Elvis collecting?
I think it'll live a lot longer, the collecting part, because Gene has so much shit. I don't think that the Beatles merchandise themselves, or I mean, Elvis Estate is still putting things out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about Elvis collecting. I don't even know about Kiss collecting for that matter. I mean, I think that just as much stuff as that has been that Gene has put out, and probably the estate will continue to do. There'll be a lot of stuff. And
yeah, now that Pop House has taken the reins, I mean, there's no telling.
And as far as the music goes, I mean, as long as there's kids who discover Kiss in a video or something on YouTube, it's like we were there in real time when they showed up. But I mean, there's other kids who've seen like the reunion footage of like the reunion and said, "What the?" Just like we did.
It blows my mind. I like where it's going, because the younger, it's one thing that's interesting is like I kind of feel vindicated in my with my prog rock leanings and the grandiose concept album aspect. That's always appealed to me, whether it's Yes or Pink Floyd, but I always felt like definitely not odd man out. I mean, I kind of relish that, but like as far as definitely in the minority as far as liking the Elder, and I get it. It's a good album, not necessarily a good Kiss album or what have you. But I mean, I like it as a Kiss album. I like it, and I think it's really cool, particularly Kiss Army Things. Xander and Daphne did 3 episodes just breaking down the Elder because they love the Elder, and there's so much more, and Mark and other, first wave fans like us will just kind of, dismiss it and,
But I mean, nowadays a kid could pull up the YouTube video of Largo in good quality, and if they're like we were and they see that, they'll go, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
And I Stole Your Love is banging right out.
I don't know, and that's
And these guys 8 feet tall and blowing shit up.
I used to kind of like, I don't know, worry's a strong word, but I used to kind of worry about like just the coolest thing about Kiss as compared to their peers is the mystique, and just like not even knowing what they look like, or just being kind of like divorced from the reality of rock and roll, and just having a complete fantasy realm established, and just their own world, and living in modern times where mystique is just not. It's so many things are demystified, not just rock bands. Well, I tell you what, Beans is just determined to make herself a part of this podcast today. Getting on camera and making noise off camera. You're full of beans, girl. I'm telling you. But yeah, I mean, there's kids. I'm pleasantly surprised that the entree to Kiss for a lot of kids was the Scooby-Doo movie.
Mm-hmm.
They're like getting into like "Don't Touch My Ascot." It's like it's not my bag, but I mean, if I own it. There's worse things you could spend your time watching, and it's like I don't care if that's what it takes for you to get into Kiss and show it to your kids. I mean, few bands are able to kind of like perpetuate themselves the way Kiss does. So, to the bigger question of will the music live forever? Yeah. I mean, and I think that people will always kind of denigrate it the way they always have, where like it's not the best music, or it's simple, or it's however you can criticize the songcraft of Kiss or whatever. It's like hey, who, at a certain point, like, who gives a shit?
Right.
If you like it, it's good.
If it peters your O'Toole.
That's right. And we hope that this tablecloth episode of Hey Man, Nice Kiss Shirt has petered your O'Toole. And I want you to put your two lips together and kiss that subscribe button. Tell your friends about this raggedy ass thing I'm doing with my friends, and sound off in the comments, and we'll do this again next week. Peace.